Starting to the bottom left, it's not the Lila Laune Bear, but he starts with an L nonetheless. It is.
Start here live.
He's about as cheery. Live in Zerg versus Protoss, going up against his third round opponent here at the Challenger League in Korea. To the top right of the map in blue, we have Onyeonsu.
MVP Super.
Now if he wins this, rumor has he's going to change his ID to Super Duper.
Yeah, he could do that. Live, just to give you a few statistics here, because it's actually incredible. I love when we have statistics for the players. I want to give a big shout out to aligulak.com. Those guys are amazing. They always keep you up to date, and you can look up the statistics for your favorite players. But just to give you a bit of an idea of how amazing Live is in Heart of the Swarm. If you look at a best-of-3 record, then he has played 26 matches, and he won 80% of them. 80% with this sample size is insane. Then you look at his map wins, because of course a match can consist of either best-of-1, a best-of-3, a best-of-5, and so on. Live has played 57 maps, and he has won 75% of them against Protoss. And the last matches, I'm just going to down the match history that he has. A 4-2 against Naniwa, a 3-0 against Hero, a 2-1 against Zest. He met him actually twice at IM in New York. He took down Puck with a 2-0. He won against Arya with a 2-0. That was back in the Challenger League. He took down Trust. He won against Tia, against Trap. That was in the GSDL. The last time that he actually lost to a Protoss player was an 0-2 versus Stardust at DreamHack Bucharest. And it's just insane. This kid is so darn good. Then you go up against Super, and Super is still like, he has 17 maps played, and a 10-7 leaves him with a 58% win ratio. And that is pretty good. That's really good. But Lives is just insane. It's unbelievable how good he actually is. If you play at this level, everything above 50% is really like, you can work with that. That's something that you can be proud of.
Yeah, anything above 80 that you ever have at high-level players is basically just like, they are probably top 2 in the matchup in the world. I mean, that's just how it is. So, I mean, when everybody probably remembers Inca was considered the king of PvP, but he had like an 82% win ratio at that time, and I mean, it's like when you're playing in the highest level league in the entire world, which is the league we're talking about right now, and you have that good of a win ratio in it and outside of it, going to international events where you're not even on your home turf and you're beating good process. It's like, Life is... Nobody's expecting Super to win after reading those stats.
Yeah, not really, but one of the things that we have to remember, going down those matches that I just quoted, a lot of these games were played in the tournament bracket. And you have to have a very different skill set in a tournament bracket than when you play in the Challenger League and WCS just in general, because you can prepare more for these matches. So Super could have some timings mapped out that's completely surprised Live. But Live, as we mentioned before, super good player in this matchup. So I'm very excited for this series. I feel that Live, of course, is a highly favorite player here. We went through the statistic, we talked about it a little bit. But Super, he knows that too. I mean, he is someone who can analyze all these matches. To all the matches that I mentioned earlier, there are VODs online that you can watch. And Super must have observed that. He must have trained with opponents and been like, okay, do this. This is what Live does, and I try to take you down with my timing. So let's see what exactly Super is going to do here. Does he have an answer? Does he have a plan? Can he win against Live? He's going for Stargate, and he's going to try it with, so far, a pretty standard opening.
Yeah, so far really standard here. And Spinecrawler goes down for Life. He's actually heavily 2-based here. No gas, no third Nexus. He knows that, or rather no third hatchery. He knows that there is no third Nexus, of course. That would be crazy. And that there's a gateway expand, so he doesn't want to take any risks, even making the Spinecrawler here. So very defensive opening. And Phoenix is, of course, going to be the transition for Super. He's chrono boosting those. And consider that Life, with this really, really safe play, could actually end up finding himself a little bit behind if Super does not be aggressive at all, besides the Phoenix just takes the third base.
And at this point in time, both of them still a little bit past in the game. The Forge, of course, now coming in and talking about the third bases. I mean, I would expect Life to take his like really early, really soon. But he's staying on a 41 Harvester so far. And he's still droning up, but the third base should definitely be built soon for him. We are 7 minutes into the game. You can delay that a little bit and go into the added tech. There's already the lair now, but you want to get your third base out there against a Protoss player that's already on 2 bases. So he will definitely do that pretty soon. be surprised to not see that. On a map like Yonsu, you have to be careful because there are so many aggressive timings that a Protoss player can hit you with, but you need that base at some point.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be something you have to have. It just helps your production so much too. Spore Crawler's going down. Prepare for the Phoenixes already. Third Phoenix is about to arrive, and he's not going to pull a. Well, who did that yesterday with just the one Phoenix, or two Phoenixes on the lift? That was actually not.
Patience?
Yeah, Patience. Yeah, you got to be careful about your Phoenixes. Don't want to be doing that.
Was Patience or Panic? One of the two.
I think it was Patience.
You know, looking at this, we still don't have a third base for Life, and he goes into the +1/+1, and he can go into the roach speed right now. The third base already started here for Super. If Life doesn't send out a drone immediately to take that third, I don't think he ever will.
Yeah.
Like,
this is so crazy! He saves all three. That is good Phoenix micro for you right there. Tough decisions to make while you're microing.
This is such a super... I mean, there's the third base at 9 minutes into the game. That is very, very late, but a super fast tech into infestation pit to make up for that.
Swarm hosts, I think, out here.
He has to do something like this, because the problem for him really being is we have the third base faster for the Protoss player than for the Zerg. And the only reason why you would actually do something like this is because you plan to be aggressive. You delay the third, and in order, like, the advantage that you get is you can go into the tech faster. And the only thing that makes sense at this point is a Swarm Host transition. You already decided to go into the range upgrade, and going for a simple roach push doesn't really help you all too much. So as soon as that third is there is the photon overcharge you have to deal with. There might be a Void Ray or two there. At least there's going to be a couple of sentries that can just force field you out. So unless you go for burrow upgrade and also for like burrow movement, you have to go into either a super fast tech into Mutalisks, which is not really likely, as the opponent already showed he has a Stargate and he has Phoenixes, and the only other conclusion is you go into the Swarm Host, and then you take the third base behind it. So this gives him a fast attack, a delayed third base that he can saturate a little bit quicker, but he needs to do something with the Swarm Host. He's definitely not in a position where he can just sit down and say like, okay, well, I'm going to wait another 2 minutes until I'm maxed out.
Yeah, I think he actually needs to go use the Swarm Host right now. The problem from him, of course, is you have to deal with the collapsible rock tower first. The tower does go down, and this means that the Swarm Hosts are not going to be able to go up there until they kill the rocks. So this buys a lot of time for Super. And I'm actually liking Super's position in this game, Keller. I mean, he's making Void Rays, and he's actually getting up there to, I think he now has 2, which means that afterwards he will have 3. And if you have 3 Void Rays ever, you're going down the right path, because then next you'll have 4. Yeah. And we all know how fast Void Rays kill everything that exists.
I'm really interested to see how exactly Life is going to play this. He has super fast upgrades because of it. I even expected him to be a bit more aggressive than this, because right now he has the Swarm Hosts in the game, but he allows Super with that third base that the Protoss player has to get his own tech out. The upgrades are going to be a massive advantage though, and he's already starting to work at those rocks, and he has to do something. The third base being late still means, I mean, he's getting his income. It's not like he doesn't have the income, it's just like it hits a little bit later. But right now the +2/+2 has already started, and as you can see, Super is still operating with a single forge and just going into his first armor upgrade.
Yeah, and
the 2 Colossi out on the other hand, and the Colossi are pretty good against the Locust if you have all these small numbers.
Yeah, he actually leaves this. Okay, no, he picks the Swarm Host up. I was going to say, if he left those there, he could have been in trouble. He's getting the 4th base. The Phoenixes are still roaming the map, making it hard for him to actually just comfortably sit back and use the Swarm Host to pressure while trying to transition the ways around.
You know, I really think that Life is in a very iffy position here. Workers killed 15. That just shows how good the unit control of Super actually is. That he is able to pick up this many of the Harvesters. And yes, having the Swarm Host is great and you can put pressure on your opponent. But if the Protoss gets away with such a third base and you're only on 3 bases on your own, then things are actually, I mean, this is going to get out of control at some point. There are already a couple of Colossi in the game. We have like 4 or 5. The Void Rays are on the way. The tech with the upgrades is not where he wants it to be. The Zerg will have the advantage, but the army in general, just the size and the composition is very strong.
I mean, he just makes Zealots sometimes because he wants to tank those shots. Once he finds the Swarm Hosts, you know, he can actually just attack the 4th, I feel. There's a lot of Queens here, so don't underestimate the power of Life's army with those Queens supporting. He also has 1 Infestor, a 2nd one to join, and Fungals with those Queens against the Void Rays could work. Just depends on how the Colossi connect. Guardian Shield went up here to try to help out.
I actually think that Super at this point is as surprised as we are that he does get away with everything that he wants to do here. I mean, the tech that we have for Life is good, and as you already pointed out, with a good unit control and a very good engagement, it could definitely change the course of the battle here and the course of the game. But the numbers of Colossi is just increasing, and the upgrades as well, and that's so much area effect damage that Locust they just disappear. And there's not a lot of anti-air. And those 9 Corruptors, yes, there are only 3 Void Rays, but still, the Stalkers alone are already a problem for the Corruptors.
Yeah.
I think Life is having a huge problem here.
I think so. I mean, this is a fight that he can win, but only if everything goes his way and he micros perfectly. Here we go. Swarmhost unload on Burrow here after the unload, and
I don't know what those Swarm Crawlers are doing there.
I don't know either, but this...
That Swarmhost, I mean, what was he trying to do? Ram a Colossus? That's not going to work. Gets you a headache, and that's all that. And, well, 4th base for the Protoss going up, and the 4th base for the Zerg just went down.
Going down, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what... I just don't see Life holding this.
The thing is actually, where are the observers? I think he has...
Oh, there come the Fungal, and he's moving in really with those Corruptors, trying to make that happen. Now the Fungals are okay. He takes down all 3 Void Rays, but still, the ground army is being attacked here. What about detection on the other hand?
He doesn't have an observer, that's what I'm saying. That's those 4 crawlers, I guess, ended up being 4. Not the best place for them last time when we were talking about them. Not those 4 crawlers, but the Void Rays, or the observers going down here, it makes it a big problem.
This is like, after killing the 4th base, why would you go down that ramp if you do not have detection?
He must have lost it, like, during the fight or something. It's hard to say because there's so much going on, but...
He must have lost it and not realized. That's the only explanation.
Exactly.
If you know that you don't have detection, then you don't go... There's no reason to go down that ramp and try to take down these Swarm Hosts. I mean, the position for Super is still pretty good. He's
really
at 118 army supply. He has his upgrades on the way. He is adding extra production. And he has now 3 observers that can grant him the detection that he needs. Starting charge, the 4th base is like everything that he needs is there.
I'm a little surprised he doesn't make any more Void Rays. He only made a few, as we saw. And, Lincoln right on top of those Locusts. Not going to be ideal here. And the thing is, the Void Rays are like for killing the Corruptors, which are for killing the Colossi. So he has actually, his Colossi are not long for this world in a straight up fight with no Void Rays support. He has a ton of Stalkers, but it doesn't matter because the Colossi are still going to fall to the Corruptors. Then the Swarm Hosts are going to do their work. And there are 21 Swarm Hosts out. So I think he needs either Void Rays or like Psy Storm to deal with the Corruptors. Needs something. A Charge is not doing it.
Well, the problem for him really being that Life is now starting to show the macro game that he's famous for, and that multitasking. And Life has the bank here. The 4th base for him is up again, so now we are going into a match where Life is starting to feel a little bit more comfortable, because he can just use this multitasking that I was talking about. But in a straight-up fight against the army that we see here, it's going to be really dangerous for him. The Corruptors, as you were talking about, are his biggest problem, and he does not really have a lot against them. Oh, a nice bundle. This bundle really hit home, and Life goes straight for the Corruption, taking out one of those Colossi, trying to go for the second one, but not able to make that second shot work.
Yeah. Did he lose his observers again? I'm not seeing them.
Well, he has 3, so he should have them. Yeah, there they are.
Yeah, okay, there they are.
Right in front of us. He didn't lose them. He had 3 at the beginning of the fight already.
This next wave actually could be deadly, but nice. Life moves back. He's making some good trades here. He will need to get a 5th base eventually, though, as his natural is getting pretty low on money.
It's just the economy is so much better for... Well, I don't know, like both of them actually with a really similar economy. The entire bank is really good for Life. The Protoss player just... in the army composition a bit ahead, but Life is really starting to make the better trades, as you already pointed out. And he still has this bank. I feel Super's timing was earlier when he took down the 4th. With an observer there, he might have been able to take out all the Swarmers and win the game. But Life is starting to gain a lot of momentum.
Yeah. He's just he's trading these units for free for him, you know? These Swarmos are making free units and killing sentries and stalkers.
I love the spine crawlers that we have at this base, really working for him. He knows that he has the bank, so why not invest into a few spine crawlers and make sure that these Protoss run-bys that we see every single time in ZVP are actually doing something for him. So that was actually pretty cool. But it's a bit of a weird game. At the beginning, it didn't really look like Live's build would work out. But then with Super not having detection with him when he attacked the 4th base or losing the Observer, was suddenly in a position where he had to move back. And that gave Live the time that he needed to get everything into the picture. And now he's, with a Hive Tech, getting Vipers and +3/+3 into the game. And that could break Super's neck.
Yeah. I mean, this Roach attack here is actually kind of strange. I don't know where the Roaches came from, but he's going to do a little bit of damage. Nice little attempt to come in for the flank with the Corruptors while the Rocks are being attacked. Once the Rocks fall, though, he's actually going to be able to kill the Hatchery. Here are those Roaches I was talking about earlier, the only Roaches we've seen in this game. He might have made those by mistake or something. I'm not sure what happened there, but Fungal is good on the Stalkers. The Corruptor's still trying to get that angle.
Yeah, the Corruptor's going in from the side, taking out the first Colossus, going for the second one. And once the area of effect is gone, that means nothing against those Locusts anymore. He moves back with the Swarm Host, the Infestor goes down, and 2 of the Colossi actually survive, but that might not be enough to deal with the Locusts here. Locusts moving in still on 2 upgrades. We have the Yanks, and immediately 1 Archon and a Colossus go down. The Protoss player finds himself on the run and is losing units in the process.
Yep, he's actually going to have to take a good engagement here on top of this ramp. Needs to blink away from those. May lose an Archon for it, definitely does. Spinecrawler is going down here. Needs to actually get this hatchery and get out. Would love to see a Mothership core with this army so that he can use the recall. He's actually not targeting his Stalkers here.
He's gonna lose their hatch. He's gonna take down the hatch, but at what cost? Well, so many of those Stalkers already going down, but they're blinking away. The Archon is not gonna make it here, and 3 of the Stalkers are suffering the same fate. Zealot's trying to run in at the 3rd base to take it down. Life replaces that hatch immediately, but Storm is also now starting to become an element of the game.
Yeah.
So Life is down in economy, has a good army, is losing his bank, and Super now with the better economy and also the tech that he needs to really finally put an end to the Locusts.
We finally have Storm. Storm is something that's been sorely missed this entire game. The late Colossi here, or not the late Colossi, the Colossi is adding in, which are late to the party for some of these engagements because some of them were taken out by the Corruptors earlier, are going to come in here as well for AoE. But the Stalker count has been diminished, and I like the 5th base that we see now for Super up at the top left. That's going to be extremely difficult for Life to pressure ever. Life is making really good trades. The thing is, he's never able to put direct pressure on. Every time he goes for a run by, it gets shut down. Every time he goes for a Roach attack, it gets shut down. But the bases for Super have not been contested, whereas the bases of Life have been sniped. He's got Zealot run-bys going. There's just so much pressure with his Death Ball all the time that Life has to be moving his Swarm Host defensively, but finally now he has the Broodlords.
Yeah, Broodlords and Swarm Hosts. I mean, Life is making this work, and to be completely honest with you, I have no idea how. Like, I feel so many players would have died with the composition that he's going for a long time ago, going up against what Super has on the field. But Super, with 1 or 2 small missteps, was first of all in a position where he could, I think, could have taken that game earlier already. But then Life making the right choices. Super, on the other hand, also going for really good moves with the snipe at the 4th. But Life with those Roach run-bys is really starting to put pressure on the Protoss, and he actually takes down the Nexus to the top left.
Yeah, no cancel.
No well, it was, yeah, it was done already, and he was trying to take it down with the army that was moving in here. But now we have even a better composition for Life. With that Lair Tech done and also the Hive Tech completed, he went into 3-3, Broodlord, Swarm Host, Viper. This is starting to look very, very dangerous for Super. Like, both players with very good unit compositions in the game and an economy that makes them, puts them in a position where they can sustain things. All that Observer this time is spotted, but he can't do anything about it. The Queens.
There are the Queens coming through. The Observer does go down, actually. 2 Colossi going to go with them. And it's incredible to see this work. I'm a little bit surprised we don't see Life, or rather Super, go for any... he doesn't have any warriors anymore. I mean, he's really just avoiding making them. I think he saw a lot of Queens earlier and he was like, no, it's too risky with all the Infestors. But now dealing with the Broodlords becomes a very big problem.
Yeah. He actually goes straight into the next step for his composition and starts the additional attack with a Fleet Beacon here. But I'm not quite sure the Fleet Beacon is really something that's going to save him, because Life is now in a position where he says, like, well, I'm done. I have my army. I have my +3 attack for air units even on the way. So now it's time for me to move out. You had your chance to do something. Now it's time for me to shine, to put my composition to work and to move and take control of the map.
Yeah. He's really making waves with that army. I like that roach attack. The first roach attack seemed weird, but this one, the second one was good because it actually killed the base.
Yeah. It's really slow though, the army composition that Life is using. This is one of the biggest disadvantages that you have when you go for a Broodlord Swarmhost. It is very, very slow. So for him it's difficult to just protect his third and the fourth and move out at some point. There's always the chance that Super just decides to go past it. Storms are hitting home here, but there are so many free units basically. Everything that we have here consists of lava and broodlings, and he has to hit with the storms, and at some point the Templars are going to run out of energy. Great feedbacks though against the Infestors.
Yep, wants to get a feedback off on the Queen here too. He's killed a lot of the Queens, and that makes his Tempest a little bit more useful, and here we go. Actually getting a hatchery over here. Looks like if he targets it, he's targeting all the wrong things. 2 more Yanks, it looks like, occurred back here. You got those Colossi.
Yeah, that's the thing that you have to do. I said it earlier, the composition that Life uses is so slow that you have 2 choices. Vipers to yank everything in reach, or just to use Infestors for the bundle and pin units down so that you can approach with what you have. And then the army that you are fighting is in a lot of trouble because you have so many free units that you just spawn in cycles that you can take down everything, and you just trade free units for units that cost your opponent, so you get the more cost-efficient play. But at the same time, he exposes the bases to the left side, and that's what we just saw. Super warping in Zealots, went for that 4th base and took it down.
The composition for Life now consists of roaches. He has roaches. Roach speed is being researched at 30 minutes. I mean, I think it's because he knows the Tempests are coming, and he's on a low economy. Roaches are pretty cheap. They're pretty cost efficient when you're on low economy. When you're on 3 base, you know, for example, or 2. But unfortunately for him, he's about to be on no base because his natural is mined out, his main is mined out, his third is nearly mined out, and his 4th base is just not going up. His roach attack will be shut down easily by the Zealots, which have good upgrades. And, I mean, I gotta say, the position for Life suddenly becomes a really scary one because his economy is poor. All of his units that he's using so far have been free, and once the Tempests start picking off Broodlords, he's gonna have to pay for those somehow.
Exactly, the Tempests are now gonna become the issue. Actually, when we saw the Fleet Beacon coming in, I did not think that Life would give him so much time that he could actually get a lot of Tempests into the game. But now the 3rd one is about to be there. And this is just, once again, problem of mobility that Life has. He cannot just simply walk across the map and say, okay, I'm going to attack you, deal with it somehow, because there's a chance that Super just walks past him and starts taking down bases and then uses the Mothership Core to just TP home and defend one of his bases. Now we have Tempests. And what is there really to deal with the Tempest at this point?
Nothing. Except Vipers.
But even if he pulls them in, what is going to take them down? The Queens?
Not really. I mean, he's got some Infestors, but Infested Terrans versus Tempest is not really...
Well, he's going for the Infestors now, and he has to do something against it, but Live has to be really careful. The Tempest kind of hard counter everything that he has.
I think that he needs to make an Oracle actually as well, Super that is, because he's not going to be able to see anything.
Nice with the Blinding Cloud here. Those High Templars just not getting close enough to really use their feedbacks. There comes a Yank, and one of the Colossi is down. Now the Swarmhosts are a little bit exposed here. Storms everywhere, hitting the Broodlords as well. The Blinding Clouds, on the other hand, working beautifully against Colossi and Stalkers, and once again, the Protoss army is on the run, chased down by free units.
Yep, free units on the chase.
A lot of freebies in the game here.
Yeah, actually with the creep there, does finally grab the kill. Well, 3 Colossi, 3 Tempests, and 1 Archon. Those are the big players here. 27 Stalkers. The thing is, in some of these companies, it's actually like hard to explain how weird this game is because Life has a really, really strong composition, but he can't attack, really. He can only kind of poke, and then the same is true of Super in some ways. Every time he tries to engage Life, it looks like he might actually take the fight. Then another wave of Locust spawns, and he doesn't have enough AoE anymore. He lost his High Templar, and then he has to go back. And it's just like neither player can really make a finishing blow or a strong engagement. So Life sends Roaches, and Super sends Zealots for harassment.
Yeah, the thing is, like, we have one of those games where, you know, looking at this, Life is playing a really good game, and so does Super. But it's so different from what I personally associate with the style when I think about Life. I think about Life as a Zergling on crack. That's basically what Life is. He's just like everywhere on the map. Like Zerglings here, Roaches there. He attacks you at 5 positions at once. He runs units in when you don't expect them. And you're always in a situation where you just try to defend, and from every single angle there are just blows raining down on you. And if you just miss one of them, he's going to knock you out immediately. This is so much slower than what he usually plays. It's still a very solid style. It's not a bad style at all. but it's not really what I expected to see when we were heading into this match. But it's pretty entertaining as is. I mean, both of them very even here in the game, having good positions. Once again, the Yanks coming in, and this time we have the Corruptors.
Yeah, the Corruptors are here. The Tempest still doing damage from behind on the other hand. One goes down, the second one looks like it will fall here. It is actually fungled.
Yeah, that was actually the fungal that he needed there. And he's taking down another Tempest. And our question has been answered. What does he have against those? He uses Corruptors. They have no Void Rays anymore. And another fungal goes down on those Stalkers.
And
GG.
Life with no gas in